Hi everyone, I'm doing this video on how to replace the oil seal on the pinion gear of a Yamaha Super Tenere. The oil seal itself will actually work for all models from 2010 to current 2019. I took the original part number, I cross-referenced it to each year so that I could verify that everybody will be able to take advantage of this video. So this will be able to help a lot of guys out, and that's awesome. The oil seal that I actually have is not a Yamaha part. What happened was mine didn't show up in the mail in time, and I decided I'd go ahead and take advantage of the situation. Some guys are going to be out on the road, they're not going to be able to get a hold of the part, or the dealership's not going to have it. It's really unlikely. So I took the measurements from the original one, which is a 65mm outside and a 50mm inside. I went down to Napa, a local parts store, and was able to use their parts catalog, and we were able to find the right seal. We measured it and made sure it's going to fit. So this will fit. How long it lasts, we don't really know. I'm going to go ahead and find out. The task itself is not that difficult, so if it doesn't last long, I'll just go ahead and replace it with the one that I got whenever it arrives. What we have right here is the teardown of everything currently to where we are. The only thing you'll notice if you look in the manual itself that's going to be different from what I've done is inside here you have the bearing retainer nut. That requires a special tool to be able to get the nut itself out. I don't have it on hand. The local Yamaha dealership doesn't have it either. It seems like something you got to kind of manufacture, and instead of manufacturing it, I decided to put myself yet again in a situation of guys who are going to be out there on the road, and maybe they're going to have to do this in an offhand way. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. About the only thing that you won't have on hand will probably be an impact, but if you're in this situation and you need to get it done, you're probably going to have a local car shop or something like that. So you'll be able to get the task done without any special tools. That's awesome news as far as I'm concerned. Over here on this side of the table, what I have is a quarter drive 3/8 ratchet. I have a 6-inch extension, swivel socket for 3/8, 14mm and a 27mm socket. I have an 8mm Allen for the pinch bolt, a 4mm for taking off the wheel speed sensor. That's the only stuff you'll need for the tire. I'm going to do that in a different video, but that's the parts you'll need there, or the tools you need there. Over here on this side of the table, this is the stuff that I used for actually taking out the coupling gear from the inside. That gets you access to the oil seal itself. So we have an impact, we have just a pipe handle. This one's actually off of a jack. I also have an oil or a seal driver. I went ahead and just used this, but you can use a couple of different things. The other thing you could use is a hammer and a punch. Now these are going to be for putting the seal back in. Okay? For getting it out, what I did is we drilled a couple holes into the top of the seal. You can see them right there, hopefully. And I have a couple metal screws. All right? We're going to thread those down inside. I'm going to use the pry bar, go ahead and pry it up evenly on each side, kind of walk it out. All right? From here, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the task, and we'll get this thing.
So I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another video for removing the tires. That way you've got a video that'll spread out across a lot more maintenance tasks. Right here, all we're going to do is pull the final drive right off. All you're going to do is take the nuts off the front side here, and then the final drive itself will slide right out. It's really easy. Just like that. Make sure not to lose the 4 washers. They're on the front side right here. There's going to be on the recessed portion of the swing arm right here. Drop those, lose them. It's going to be a rough.
So where we're at right now is we're to the point that you've gotten the final drive completely off the bike itself, and we're ready to go ahead and start the full disassembly and get to the oil seal. So the way that I got the drive shaft out is you have a snap ring here, you have a washer, and then you have a dust seal. In between the washer and the dust seal, I went ahead and put the pry bar and was able to leverage up and out and extract the drive shaft. It's not going to be that easy, more than likely. Mine was actually a little bit more difficult than that. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and pull the spring out right here. Go ahead and put that off to the side. The coupling gear will be the next part that you take out. The way you're going to take it out is the nut inside. Once it's torqued down, there's a small slot inside the pinion gear, and that's kind of tapped in. Whenever you put it back in, you're going to do the same thing. So what you'll have to do is you'll need to get a punch. You have to get down there at an angle. You're going to have to go ahead and drive that out. I've already done it, just kind of showing how you're going to go about it. Once you got it done, go ahead and remove coupling gear. This part here, I originally had a C-clamp attached to it, but I already tore it all down, so I can make this happen as easy as possible. Go Once you got that off and it's loose, put it off to the side. The coupling gear itself actually came out fairly easily. Inside the coupling gear, you have this washer here, parts that you don't want to lose. Okay. Now we've got access to the seal itself. Okay. This is easy part. Just be able to get right to it. Go ahead and pull this whole thing out and be done with it.
Okay, to the point that we are here, we're ready to actually pull out the oil seal itself. Now what you see inside here is it's a lot cleaner than most of your guys is going to be. There was a lot of grease in here and I had to clean it out. This is the oil seal itself. This is where it sits inside of. This is the bearing retainer nut that I was talking about that you're not going to go ahead and pull out. If you did pull it out, you would just basically take it out, put it on the table upside down, drive it the opposite direction. Pretty easy, but then you got to torque this thing back in. You can see mine's burred up. I'm guessing that this has already been extracted before. That's probably because the original part had some issues and they had to get replaced. No big deal. I don't see a problem there. What you can see is I've already got the holes tapped. This is what I was talking about. So on each side, what you'll do is you'll take your drill, you place it here, and you go ahead and just punch a hole through. Now you're gonna get some metal shavings here and there. I would recommend stuffing some rags down inside the best you can. Try and keep as much contaminant from getting inside as possible. I still clean this thing out once I'm good and done. That way I make sure there's nothing in here. We're obviously going to use new fresh oil. Okay, so next step will be to put the screws in place and then to extract the seal out.
Alright, now we're actually to extracting the seal itself. The tool I forgot to mention earlier was actually a screwdriver. It's kind of hard to put the screws in without it, but make sure to add that to your tools list. So what you do is you got your two holes that you've done put inside. You will take and thread in your screws. Now another way you can go about this is if you have some cable tie, you can actually wrap around it and kind of drive it out like you would with a slide handle. What I'm going to do here is actually off the pinion gear. You can probably use the studs themselves. You're not going to damage anything here because this is going to come out pretty easily. Now yours isn't going to come out that easily. Yet again, I put this back in a little bit halfway just so I can make this as easy as possible and get the demonstration done over with. From here, you're going to go ahead and you're going to clean everything out. If you have a wash tank or something like that, use that. If not, just make sure to get it as clean as you possibly can. You don't want to leave any metal shavings or contaminants inside and the bearings get tore up and it's just going to... Okay, now we're on to the seal reinstallation process and getting the rest of the tasks wrapped up. The way you want to put it in is the flat side here is going to be facing up, the inside is going to be facing down. You know, to some it might be obvious, to some it might not. Go ahead and slide it down inside. Try and push it with your hands at first so you can get it into that guide. Otherwise it can be a little bit of a pain. From here, we're going to use the punch and the hammer. I would have used the seal driver, but kind of showing people how you can do it this way. Once you get in there good and tight, you're going to walk your way around in a circle. Now, you can kind of hear, I don't know if you can hear on the video, you can hear that I've reached the bottom on one side. You can spot the difference in the noise. Make sure you get it seated all the way around just like that. Alright, there you go. The seal's installed there. The next step is going to be to move on to the rest of this. Okay, now we're ready to put the coupling gear down inside. What I've done here is I coated the outside with a little bit of grease. The reason I did that is because when I go ahead and put it in, I want to make sure that the oil seal on the inside doesn't end up rolling on me, because it can roll, and if it rolls, it's pinched in the process, and then, it's not going to work. So line it up with the spline here. Go ahead and seat it down inside. That was nice and easy, no big deal. Next part is the washer. Get the washer down inside. You can catch a little bit easily. Hopefully it drops in there. Go ahead and get the nut in there. Going to impact it on and then torque it down the rest of the way. The other part that you're going to need is a torque wrench. If you're in a pinch, obviously you're probably not going to use the torque wrench to get it done. Just get the impact on it, be done with it, and move about your day. But I'm going to go ahead and torque it down to the spec from the book, and then I'll move on to the next step. Alright, I got that nut torqued down. I went ahead and put in the locking portion by punching it into the pinion gear itself and the slot that's in there. That'll keep the nut from backing out. The next step is to install this spring clip, or this spring here. Make sure you get it fully seated. The book calls for a lithium foam grease on the gear shaft on the bottom end. Make sure to line those up, seat it down nice, and then you need to push in the dust seal. And once the dust seal's seated all the way down, then basically you're done with this portion of the task. We can move on to putting it back on the bike.
Okay, here we are back at the bike. Whenever you're going to install the final drive, the universal joint at the front of the swing arm may be laying down at the bottom, so you might actually have to kind of try to guide in as you're getting in there. And you also may have to spin the final drive around a little bit so that the splines will line up and everything will slide together. I've already gone ahead and greased up the drive shaft and went ahead and serviced the gearbox itself. So we're ready to slide in, tighten everything down, and be good to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get it up in there. The torque on the nuts is going to be 30 foot-pounds. I don't have a torque wrench on hand, so I'm just going to go down after I get it on to the local parts store and borrow one of theirs and torque it down there. Alright, and there you have it. That's the full removal installation of the drive shaft and doing the pinion gear. As far as the tire installation goes, I'm going to do that in a completely separate video, just so that that video will be able to be used for, you know, that task alone on by itself. Alright, thanks for watching. This is my first time ever doing a video like this. I'm actually about to go in the house and just kind of figure out editing for the fun of it. If it works out great, that would be awesome. If I get more requests to do some other tasks on the bike, I'll probably go ahead and knock that out. I enjoy doing this stuff, and I like knowing that the information that I put out may or may not help people. It's kind of a community thing, so if I'm doing something that's not right, hopefully I can get some good input. I'm sure this video is probably going to give me some feedback I may or may not enjoy. We'll find out for sure. But I really appreciate anybody that watches it, and if I can help anybody out with this task. It was really easy, it was really straightforward. I'm going to edit this down the best I can so it's as short as I could possibly make it. So thanks for watching.